Hey there, it's your host, Cindy Chang, founder of Evolve Consulting Co. and the visionary behind an exciting new venture launching in 2025, making staffing accessible for companies of all sizes. Welcome back to the Fearless Entrepreneurs podcast, where we dive deep into the stories behind Canada's most inspiring brands. Together, we'll uncover how these bold entrepreneurs sparked their dreams, tackled their toughest challenges, and leaned into their fears to achieve success. I'm thrilled you're here, bold enough to embrace the hard truths and inspired to learn from their journeys. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Today, we're diving into what it really takes to be the kind of leader everyone wants to work with. And to help us do that, we have the incredible Leisse Wilcox, a powerhouse in high-performance leadership, resilience, and behavioral change. With over 20 years of global experience across stages and media platforms, Leisse is a sought-after expert in behavioral change, resilience, and high-performance leadership, known as the secret weapon of the C-suite and the Marie Kondo of your unconscious. She helps leaders cut through the mental clutter, embrace change, and unlock their full potential. A Forbes contributor and a trusted advisor to the powerhouse brands like TD, AGF, Aviva, and Entrepreneur, Leisse champions human-centered leadership that drives real impact. As a certified executive and organizational development coach, award-winning speaker, and two-time best-selling mental health author, Leisse's insights have been featured on prestigious stages and top-tier media outlets, positioning her as a leader in the voice of modern leadership. A cancer survivor, a mom of three, and a passionate advocate for emotional intelligence in the workplace, she brings a unique blend of real-life experience, deep expertise, and an unwavering belief in the power of resilience. When she's not inspiring leaders, you'll find Leisse road tripping for tacos with her husband and singing along to Taylor Swift songs with her daughters or binge watching HBO with her dog. I love that. We're here to explore how to future-proof your leadership, not just to keep up, but to lead with heart. When you show up with authenticity and purpose, you don't just build stronger teams. And we're here to unpack that with Leisse. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for that glowing welcome. I'm really happy to be here.
It's basically a review, and that's the first question I always like to ask is when you sit as a third party to listen to all your accomplishments, how does it make you feel?
Okay, so shout out to all my other perfectionists out there. And it gave me that moment to be like, you know what? Today we're just not going to be hard on ourselves. That's just like,
Yes,
look what you've done. So thank
you
you for
did
that.
it. Of course. And when I was writing, the bio and just kind of like reviewing your accomplishments, you are so accomplished and you've done so much. And what I love about everything that you've done is that you really led with being heart-centered, which
Mm.
is the most important thing. And I think what a lot of leaders feel like they can't be, or it's like there's like a taboo that you can't be a real human when you're a leader.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's not actually the case.
Not at all. And quite the opposite, especially really being immersed in the AI era. The only thing we
Yes.
can't automate is relationships. So we're going to see over and over and over again this return to basics of those previously known as soft skills that you require in order to thrive as a leader.
I love that. And so let's take it back a little bit. We really want to dig into how Leisse Wilcox Consulting has started and where did you come from before this
Mm.
and where did this all begin for you?
The true story is that it started out of necessity. So I have a background in Montessori education and psychological development. I had the privilege of raising 300 kids and then decided I was going to raise my own kids. So I took a break from education to start my own family, had 3 kids in 2 years, and became like a full-time mom. A couple of things happened. One, being at home was on the one hand incredibly fulfilling and on the other hand not fulfilling at all. Like, I mean, I was so grateful to have all of the time with my kids, and my brain needed something else. So I started writing a newspaper column, which turned into a blog, which turned into an Instagram account, which turned into this public profile. At the same time that was building, I went through a really, really nasty divorce. As I started to bounce back from that and realized there was no financial support, it was going to be me now bootstrapping a career overnight with 3 kids in tow full time. Then I got cancer. And it was like, oh, okay, awesome, awesome. And so it was just like one thing after the other. At every turn in the road, I was able to double down on myself, put one foot ahead of the other, and really do what needed to be done. And for me, what needed to be done was making sure I was available as a really engaged mom to my children, also being able to have a career that aligned with who I am and what I uniquely offer. And so, from all of those constellation points, Leisse Wilcox Consulting was born, evolved, and continues to be a player in the impact making space for people who change, do not love BS, and they really lead with integrity to do what they say and say what they do.
Holy shit. That's all
Yeah,
I can
man.
say. That is, there was a few years in your life there that really kind of kicked your ass and really threw you some tests and some curveballs. And so, how old were your kids when the divorce was happening? How did you navigate your way through that?
So I think the girls were 3, 3, and 5. And they're all girls. And they're like teens now. They were pretty young. And I think that was a blessing because they were young enough that as long as I set the pace and the tone, I remember saying this to them, today we're going to go find a new place to live. You want to come and see what the house could look like? And they were like, yeah. And so house hunting together. And it took this really traumatic experience. And I explained it to the kids in the way that I knew would be safe and easy for them. And in doing so, it made it safer and easier for me. That was a pattern through cancer as well. I wanted to give them, because I think that they were then maybe 6, 6, and 8, I wanted to give them as much information as possible without terrifying them. It's just like one piece of information at a time. It was like, remember the Terry Fox run you did? Well, remember he had cancer, Mummy has cancer too, and here's what it's going to look like. I knew I was going to lose my hair. We decided to have a head shaving party. Their friends came, my friends came, and we made it this really beautiful day. So even if that were going to be if this really negative experience, my hope was that they would have this core memory of we had music, Mummy was wearing a leopard robe. So it really just changed the state of play and changed the narrative in making it easy for them to understand, which in turn really built my own resilience.
That is insane, first of all. As you were telling me all of that, I was just walking through what a woman's brain would walk through when you're going through all of these things that are terrifying and new and traumatic, as you said. It could be perceived as a very negative time in your life. You had to be really positive for your girls. And so, how did you deal with that internally? Because I felt like you're like, okay, I got to put my best foot forward for the girls. But inside, you were probably like fearful.
There was a lot of acceptance, like really radical acceptance. Now,
Mm.
before acceptance comes a lot of anger, full tilt rage, resentment, a lot of crying, some depression, like all of those feelings were present. And because of my background in life coaching and success coaching, I was really lucky to also have the skills to feel your feelings. Like they're all welcome here. And also, you don't have the luxury of dwelling in those feelings. Like you can be depressed, and also you need to be able to take action because,
Right.
again, there was no financial support during divorce. You are solely responsible for everything. So you have 2 choices. One of them is to fold and give up and lie on the floor, which I did. The second option was to make this beautiful, to garner whatever I could out of this experience while making it incredibly safe, as I said, for my children to digest. And thank God I did, because that ended up being a really beautiful experience.
I've never heard it put in that way. Sometimes, as a parent, and I have a 5-year-old too,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to navigate the language that you can feed them that's age
Mm-hmm.
appropriate and that is digestible for their little brains that
Mm-hmm.
isn't an adult, right? Like they don't think
Mm-hmm.
like us, they don't process trauma the same way that we do, they don't
Yeah.
process big information like we do. You didn't know what was going to happen at that time, but you did want to
Mm-hmm.
make it beautiful. And I'm sure they're really grateful for you for doing that now.
We're pretty tight. Like I can't stop smiling when I say that because we are a nice little unit. But I know that brought us closer. I don't know if you know this, but when you have cancer, like I did a double mastectomy. And one of the icky parts of that is that you have to have drains. And it's like they put these tubes in you to drain
Yeah.
off fluid, which is a good thing for your body. It's a
Yeah.
gross thing for your eyes, like a really gross thing for your eyes. And you have to like measure the volume, but also record the quality of the liquid that is being drained out. Like I could not describe this in a more grotesque way. I was terrified of this experience. But having a little girl, I'd be like, all right, get the chart. And they'd be like, okay, we've got 5 milliliters of vampire red today. We gave this little mini science experiment. That was really fun. Another great story that I love. I know this isn't a cancer podcast, but just it is all of these little micro actions that
For
contributed to me being able
sure.
to develop this like resolve. Everything in cancer is scary, and because it's also medicalized and it's a language that most of us don't speak. And so when you're going in to do chemotherapy treatments, you have all of these like insane medications that you're taking. They're like, if you start to feel sick, you need to take 2 beta-methahydroxyl laxatives for like. So I had the girls make me another chart, and it was like they would label this medication with a unicorn sticker or a heart or a shooting star. And it was like, okay, on Tuesday at 8 a.m., I need to pop 2 shooting stars. And if I still feel sick, I just take a rainbow pill and I'm all good to go.
I love that. I love that. You just found ways to make it digestible for them and for yourself as well.
And
Because
that's it.
who can pronounce that?
And so what you were saying about
Yeah.
having a 5-year-old and not knowing how to explain it, I Michael Scotted it. I was like, explain this to me like I'm 5, and we're going to
Yes.
dwell in this space of just making it easy and as fun as possible.
At what point did you start Leisse Wilcox Consulting? When did you jump into entrepreneurship?
Technically, it was 2000, and I had some freelance work, but I was also taking clients on the side. I actually started with a business partner, and it was back before the days of social media managers, which seems inconceivable now. And so we had this great idea that we were going to take over the Instagram accounts of small, medium businesses, usually women led. And when we sat down at a meeting, they would turn to my partner and be like, let's talk sales, let's talk presence, whatever. And they would turn to me and be like, my mom always told me I wasn't creative, so I don't know how I'm going to overcome this. Or my
Mm.
husband thinks this is just another hobby. How am I going to prove to him? And so I naturally was coaching people all along. And then in 2018, I got some coaching certifications, which I continued to build on and really started to create my own niche, helping people get exactly what they want.
There's a lot that I think about this year about that limiting mindset
Mm,
and how it really kind of holds people back.
mhm,
So I want to come back to that. Being an entrepreneur is really freeing in terms of the flexibility that you get
mhm,
because you have young kids. But at any point, because you were going through so much in your
mhm.
life, like there was the divorce and there was the cancer, were you ever just like, I just need to go back to a regular 9 to 5 job? Like everything was changing constantly.
Mhm.
Did you ever just want a stable job and like go back to teaching? What kind of kept you on that entrepreneur train?
The freedom of energy, so both time and money.
Yeah.
Montessori teachers make nowhere near a living wage. So that was just so not an option. Plus, I needed the time, freedom, and flexibility to be available to my kids, raising them full time. Interestingly, almost 10 years into the business, I definitely went through a dark night of the soul more recently where I was like, that's like, I quit. I don't think I've actually shared this before, but I did start to look for jobs. I'm just going to go get a job. And every time I got close, there was something in me that was like, what are you doing? You didn't come this far just to come this far. I was actively applying for jobs. And then there was this part that was like, please don't quit now. So at the
Interesting.
time, no, that desire was not there because I don't think it even registered. Maybe it was a limiting belief, but it worked out in my favor. That the belief was that I had to work for myself in order to sustain the lifestyle that I'd created. And
Right.
only after being a seasoned entrepreneur was I was like, this is hard. I think I'm going to choose a different kind of hard for a while.
It's weird because it's like hard and rewarding all at once. And
Hmm.
that's so relatable. Like, I've never talked to an entrepreneur that didn't think that. That wasn't like,
Hmm.
oh, you know what? I'm just going to keep going down and hitting my head against a brick wall and feel really good about this. Like,
So
I think
good.
everyone's kind of gone through this. Maybe I should go back to a full time
Hmm.
job because it's steady and because it's stable. I hate reporting to other people,
Hmm.
but it just might be a good constant for a while so many things are changing for you. So you stuck along with consulting and then you got your leadership certificate. And when
Hmm.
did things really start to blossom for you?
So it was during the pandemic. I had a freelance gig. It was just heartbreaking because I worked for an all-female company. They were always championing the voices of women. The owner is still very publicly recognized on a national basis for being like really pro women. She fired everybody overnight with no notice. Everybody was on contract, so no one got any severance. And it was just like, okay, you don't have a job anymore. And then the pandemic hit, I think a week later. That moment where you're just like, I feel like there should be like an 80s rock ballad playing in the background for a montage. It was like, you have no choice. You double down and you have to take this so seriously because it has to become your primary stream of income. I think I hit a sweet spot because I had established such a reputation of being a person of integrity. And who I am on a podcast is who I am on stage, is who I am at the family dinner table. I'm like Popeye. I just am who I am, who I am. Don't quite love spinach as much, but we'll work on that. No, so I think I had really built up this trust in my brand, but that was really
Yeah.
building up trust in me as a leader. So during the pandemic, when my target audience was working from home, they did have budget to spend, and they had time that my business exploded on like an international level. I just had clients and clients and clients and clients. It was incredible.
What was that secret sauce for explosion? Because coaching, and tell me if I'm wrong in this, is that during the pandemic, what happened
Mm.
was a lot of people went through a career crisis. They were like,
Yes,
I don't want to be at my job anymore. People got laid off left, right, and center. People just had to pivot and had to shift. Then you saw a big influx in coaching.
I
All of a
know.
sudden, everyone wants to be a coach. I
I
have
know.
a 24-hour certificate, and here's my coaching
Exactly.
certificate. How did you like pioneer through that? And like, where did that explosion come from when it was like kind of noisy in the coaching space?
So that was always, and maybe still is, but definitely was one of my greatest fears. I was so afraid of being lumped in. And to be really frank, there are more bad coaches than there are good coaches. And if somebody wants to prove me wrong, best of luck to you. That's earned wisdom. I'm honest to a fault and I have a lot of integrity. And so that combination of being so real, again, with the combined factors of, I think I had built a lot of trust with a lot of people over a period of time. I wish I knew what the secret sauce was because I would sell it. I would really profit from that. I don't think there is a secret sauce. I think it was
Right.
timing, circumstance, brand equity, relationship building. All the stars just collided. And as I said, the limiting belief standpoint, it was like, sister, this has to work or you don't have a home. We have no choices here. We have no fallback. There is no plan B. Literally have to make this work. And I was very fortunate and really, really grateful. I think I was, in the cosmic sense, very supported in making that happen. I built a lot of really wonderful client relationships that lasted for years.
Are you an astrological person? Stars and astrology. I love it, to be honest.
So I have like all of my children's
Oh,
constellations tattooed on. I feel like I went through a season of my life where I've relied on it and I like relied on tarot cards. And now I feel like with a bit of maturity and a bit of a different outlook, I don't need it as much, but I definitely know there is something much bigger that we can't see. Always feel supported in knowing that and in trusting that. Yeah.
we all go through stages in our life where things just aren't going. I just showed Lise my tarot cards, by the way. I think there's always a period in our life where it feels like you're bashing your head against a wall.
Yes.
And then when something unlocks, then it just like flows and things just happen. And
Mhm.
I'd like to say it's a little bit of luck, but I also think it's just your perseverance as well.
I don't think it was just luck. I don't think it was just perseverance. I think because I know a lot of people who are in probably a similar situation and it didn't work out. So that's what I mean. It's not repeatable. That's what I'm trying to say. There wasn't a methodology to it. It was just a lot of timing, circumstance. It ended up working out. really,
Yeah.
really well.
We need to find what that secret sauce is and
Oh,
then let's
honey,
make
I
a
know.
bajillion dollars. That's a big
Mm,
part of coaching. You transform leaderships. And it's such an interesting topic for
mhm,
me because as I interview businesses of all levels and as I'm watching, so I'm a recruiter by trade. And part of that is me helping organizations transform through the growth of
mhm.
teams. And it either makes or breaks at the leadership level. So, how much of that is limiting beliefs? Like, what is the most common topic that you're working on with a lot of your
Mm.
clients, really?
I break it down into finding clarity in what you want, confidence in who you are, and then the courage to take action. And when you have the trifecta of those, you really have your mojo in play. You feel fulfilled. Your fulfillment sustains the momentum necessary to really stay in that peak state. So I'm going to take a roundabout way of answering your question. A lot of coaches get it wrong as they focus only on mindset. Mindset on its own is nowhere near enough. It holds so much at an unconscious level. What we grew up in our family narrative, our cultural narratives, our generational, our gender narratives, we hold so much unseen information, and that creates a pattern that feels comfortable even if it's not working for us. Then you have the function of your unconscious mind is to constantly be sweeping the environment for danger. And unfortunately,
Mm.
anything that is new feels like a physiological threat, which is how we start to self sabotage. Because anytime we try to do something new for ourselves, we're going to go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which tells our brain, like, you know what, this is too hard and it doesn't feel safe. Let's just do what we've always done. 10% of people actually commit to any personal growth because it's hard. It's hard to challenge. It's hard to know ourselves and it's hard to challenge that version of ourselves. So if we only focus on mindset, we're only focusing on this 10% of what we think, but really, our thoughts can shape our behaviors, but it's our belief system that shapes our thoughts, which can then impact our behavior. So, if you want to see a change in action or behavior, you have to not only change your thoughts, but you have to change your unconscious belief system, which really means you're creating a new level of safety internally for you to have. So, when I work with clients, it's unbelievably comprehensive because it's not just like cognitive behavioral talk therapy. It's not just talking through. It's not just what is your mindset? Like what think about it, you shall receive it. It's really truly what is your money story? What is your version of yourself that you're committing to? What are you motivated by, but also what are you not motivated by? How do we reconcile all of that and give you the confidence in choosing to be your authentic self, defining what enough looks like and feels like for you, and then
Mm-hmm.
giving you the tools and the roadmap to actually find the courage to execute on all of it. So that's definitely what separates me as a leader in this space is that we don't just focus on one thing.
You said so many great things that I didn't even really think about, which is important to unpack. And
Mm-hmm.
what I loved is that every new piece of information, because you're built like a system, every new
Mm-hmm.
piece of information literally feels like a security threat to your body.
Every time you hit a new level, you have to go through it all over again. It is
Right.
the worst design that it's like every time you're like, okay, great, I hit 6 figures. Now I'm really ready for multiple 6 figures. So you have to go through the entire experience all over again.
It's like new levels, new network of people, new
Yes,
dangers, new whatnot. And so you go on autopilot because it's
yes.
all you ever know. And so having to unlock subconscious to build that new level of safety, I think that is so insightful and it's really hard. And it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
you're digging into not just like being a career coach, but it's like a career therapy where you're
Mm-hmm.
really understanding the core of who you are, but also the core of who you want to be. Do people become afraid of going to that place? Are people hesitant when you start to dig in that unconscious space? Are people like, you're too close to home, get away?
No, because, and I'm
Okay.
just going to be really candid. If
Yeah.
people want surface level stuff, they keep listening to the Mel Robbins podcast and they don't
Mm,
go any deeper. If people
right.
want, are okay, cool, but I want something deeper, I really truly want to know who I am and I actually want to affect some change, then they
Change.
come to me. And if people
Right.
aren't interested in having that change or in actually doing something different, I tend not to register for them because I think It just feels like too much. So I'm really good at meeting people where they're at any stage. It's been very, very rare where I can meet somebody where they're at and they can't meet themselves where they're at. Usually, like 99.9 times out of 100, people who come to work with me get unbelievable results because they know enough to trust the process and they feel it.
In speaking with a lot of career coaches, it focuses not just on the surface level. You really go beneath that surface.
Mm-hmm.
And something that you just touched on right now, which is you meet people where you are, but you're also selective as to who it is that you bring on, because some people, they want help, but they're not actually willing to do the work to make change or to impact change. And that comes from your level of integrity that you said was really
Yes.
important to you. And I operate in the same way too, where the clients that if I leave a call and I feel what I call the ick,
Yeah.
I will not take those clients on. And it's just an intuition thing, because time has grinded us to know that those people are just going to keep spinning around in a circle. And so tell me about how you navigate that for yourself. Like, how do you keep away clients that are draining in a sense?
I have really good boundaries and I really trust my gut. My own emotional intelligence is really high, so I can feel if the vibe is off, it's not going to work. And that's not me being arrogant. It's like you actually, as a client, will not get what you need to get out of this experience because it just isn't a good match. I'm turning people down because they're not good enough to work with me. It's quite the opposite. It's that it's such a partnership. It's such a relationship. And I vet those clients based on experience and lots of gut feelings and self-trust. I've had clients like 2 and 3x their revenue. I have had people radically transform their relationships, how they show up in business and how they show up in life. It's the only way they feel so much more calm and grounded. And there are people for whom that won't be an option. I've now learned how to just instinctively be like, this won't be a good partnership and you won't get what you need to get out of it, which conflicts with my own value of integrity. So that has to be a no.
It's boundary setting, but it's also protecting your energy, and you do what you do for a cause and for a purpose, and it has to align with your value system as well. Let's talk a little bit about emotional intelligence, and I promise we're going to get back to your journey because there's still lots of chapters to turn there. I know you say you're passionate about emotional intelligence. One of the things that I find is really hard in leadership when I talk to leaders is that a lot of leaders are like, just use your common sense. But everyone's barometers of common sense is a big spectrum.
It's very true.
Some people, it's not common sense to them, and that's really hard. How do you measure emotional intelligence, and how do you teach that?
I have it broken down into methodology, and I'm writing my third book about this, The Courage Code. But it's really about choosing to be confident. It's this choice that we make. So for leaders, how are you choosing to show up in your expertise and in your presence? How are you choosing to own who you are and be your authentic self? How are you choosing to show up and actively listen, to not be ego driven, but to really listen with curiosity? And instead of being reactive, being more responsive. Shit hits the fan. It's like, okay, this is interesting. What happened? Instead of going to punish somebody. How do we choose to be resilient? How do we execute? It's this series of decisions about our own character that we make. And all of that is emotional intelligence because all of it is self-awareness. When you truly know who you are, what you value, what you stand for, what you're activated by, your weaknesses are in addition to your strengths, you show up differently. You show up in a way that allows you to be vulnerable, to be trusted, to be very human. And when you lead with that example, like, yes, I'm an expert, I'm an authority in this area, and I'm also profoundly human. It activates the mirror neurons in everyone around us. It inspires them to be their best selves, to offer and bring the best of what they have to offer to the table, while also being deeply aware that, yes, I too have flaws. And that's okay. We're not going to be punished for that. It's going to be a place where we foster this like interdependent community in which we're really aware of what people are great at and what they're not so great at, instead of trying to like have a pissing contest about who's the best at everything, because humans just don't operate that way.
It comes from like a place of ego, which is just
Totally.
productive. There is so much I want to ask you there. And so to be vulnerable and to be human are not your traditional definitions of what leadership should be
Mhm.
like. And I think a lot of leaders, they feel like they need to be this person. They need to be the boss. They need to be firm and they
Yes.
need to be on top of their shit and they need to know everything. That's my favorite. And that's actually not what true leadership is. And so, how do you help people unwind this
Mm.
traditional sense of what leadership is?
I use a lot of humor, a lot of playfulness. Like when I go do workshops or keynote talks, it's rare if I don't reference Taylor Swift or some kind of 90s movie because I just want people to feel like, no, you're cool just to be here right now.
Yeah.
And from there, we can go on this roller coaster of we keep it light, and then I just take people on this like plunge of let's get very introspective and incredibly self aware. You're probably going to cry a little, and then we're going to bring it up. We're going to make it nice and palatable again. Is there a method to that? Yes. It's based on decades of experience of reading the room, again, having my own emotional intelligence, but reading the room, being able to meet people where they're at, picking up a vibe over here and maybe tempering it or softening it, but seeing that this person over here needs something a little bit different. So speaking to them, it's like parenting. It's like constantly being aware of all the needs in the room and understanding that leadership is anchoring. It's the anchor or the grounding force that holds it all together. So it's not about you, the leader, it's about you, the person, and the impact you have on the people around you. How do we soften that experience so that you feel safe and secure and are able to contribute to everybody else's feelings of safety and security as well?
I think that is very impactful in meeting people where they're at. So you're
Hmm.
not like, you need to do this because if it doesn't feel natural for them, they're not going to do it. And they're going to feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable and they're going to be even worse.
And if you're talking to people who really do have a need to be right, not a great strategy to go in and be like, you're wrong. Let me tell you what to do. And
Bajillions of dollars from that. You're not doing it right. Let's course correct, right? Let's talk about bad managers for a second
mm.
here. I don't think anyone decides to step into a role and they're like, I'm going to be a bad manager. And yet
I
people
know.
land there all the time. And I actually posted something recently on my social that got a lot of attention because I always think that people are really quick to promote their top performers. They're like,
Hmm.
oh, Lisa's a top performer. Let's make her a manager tomorrow. But they don't do the
Yes,
heavy lifting of training them to be a manager, which isn't an innate skill. And
yes,
so you have all of these leaders, they step in into new leadership without any of the tools and the skills and the development. And then they become bad managers, but their intentions didn't start that way. So, what do
exactly.
you think makes people bad managers?
I was at an ideas exchange for the Globe and Mail earlier in the week, and this subject came up again. We have known this since we had management, and yet
Mm,
we don't have the systems in place to support people. So, like what we're describing is that, hey, Cindy, you're so good at your job. I'm going to get you to stop doing it, and I'm going to put you in
right.
a totally different role that you have absolutely no preparation for.
And not only are you sabotaging your sales because you're taking the top
Yes,
performer out, you're also damaging
yes.
the integrity of your team.
Absolutely. And it's like this is a flawed strategy. And clearly we have not learned because humans are really glacially slow in how we evolve and adapt. I think you're totally right that people don't wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what? Today is a great day to be an asshole at work. I don't think people do that. So really what they're feeling is this preservation of self. So I was really good at my job.
Mm,
I was so good at it that they got me to stop doing it. And now I can be at the very bottom of the heap in which I have absolutely no experience. It's like starting grade nine. I have no experience of how to be here or how to do this. And
mm-hmm.
now I'm under so much pressure to maintain my self identity as somebody who is a top performer. And I may be totally out of my comfort zone, which we know now feels like a threat. And I feel like I have to preserve my ego. But oh my God, I also got a salary bump. So I just got a new car and now I have all kinds of financial pressure. It's endless, very few companies offer the right kind of scaling system that would allow somebody to grow into that role, or they assign a mentor. I just talked to somebody who worked for one of the big four, and they had mentor buddies, and she was like, oh, thank God, because I'm brand new to this huge enormous company, at least I have a mentor buddy. And the mentor buddy would come in and be like, so you're good. That was the mentorship. So, like, how do we support people in being in these roles that they're taking on so they can,
Yes.
again, become a top performer and inspire and empower other people in the team to do the same thing?
There should almost be like, if you ever are promoted to manager, if you're ever managing people, you need to get a certificate before you can actually manage people, because the ripple effect of how damaging it is to culture is shocking.
Yes. A stream of career aspirations, and I could take this path, or this path. One of those aspirations is to be hired in-house at somewhere enormous and create like a leadership academy where it actually
Yes.
maps out, here's how we're going to do this in an effective way. Here's how we're going to increase all of our retention so that we invest in literally everybody who works here, and in return they invest in us, and here's how we're going to navigate this vertical growth in a way that is sustainable and effective for literally everyone.
We're going to do that. That's what you're going to do. That is your
Okay.
zone of genius. Within the next 5 years, you're going to disrupt that space. It's such a big topic, I think, for a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses, people that just step into owning their own businesses. For large companies, they don't provide the support. And it is still always mind-boggling to me. It's just
Yes.
mind-boggling to me. And I secretly and personally loved your analogy. It's like going back to grade 9 again.
Cue the bare naked ladies. You don't know where the cafeteria is. Somebody just threw you in a locker, and you got to maintain composure to wear these cool new, even though they only have 2 stripes, not 3 stripes, and everybody knows they're not real Adidas.
Yeah, and then they're tearaways, and then someone rips your
Tearaways. 80s babies unite.
Let's go back to your business. And so you've developed it, you've pivoted, you got your coaching certificate. And then from there on out, how did you capture the big fishes like TD, Aviva, like AGF? Like, you've worked with some pretty big names. How did you get Leisse Wilcox Consulting in there?
I just started networking like crazy, and I have been very, very intentional to place myself in the rooms with like valued people. This is a strategy, but I show up as myself and I let that be enough.
So I love the networking, and I love being intentional with where you're at and being yourself part. I love that. For other entrepreneurs or for other people in the space that go out to network, networking is a touchy topic for everyone because and I don't know if you're an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. So networking is my jam. Like, I go in and I'm like, and I go in the room because I am just loud. Let's be real. But like, for introverts, how do they show up and just be themselves? Because a lot of the times I find that introverted people, when they go into network, they feel really uncomfortable in that situation. And so how do you be authentically yourself at networking events through different types of personality types, let's say?
So, shockingly, I am an introvert. I am an
Oh,
extroverted, but definitely I lean, and again, particularly through and post pandemic, that introvert side was like, where has this been all my life? I'm so happy we're having this conversation because we focus a lot on the work part of network. We're like, oh my God, this is going to be so much work. Or I have to go talk to all these people. And whenever I'm walking clients through this process, it's always the same advice. It's forget about the big event and needing to go in and like impress everybody and then get a 5x ROI on the event that you went to. Forget that.
right.
It's an unreasonable expectation and you're setting yourself up to fail. So instead, how can we be really intentional about each event as it happens? I'm going to go to this conference. What is my intention going into this conference? Is it I'm going to make a meaningful connection with one person? Or is it I'm going to hand out 50 business cards? Or is it I'm going to go and I'm going to let the right people find me? Like, what is that intention on a case by case by case basis? And if you can take this huge networking event, this big scary thing, and break it down into like one singular intention, it becomes really easy to meet your own goal. And when you meet your own goal, what you've done is create a new level of safety because you've taught your brain that, like, I wanted to do this and I did it, and now I have more confidence. So now, when we have event number two coming up, you already have this conscious proof of evidence that it was totally fine to go to this event. So maybe in this event, I'm really going to be intentional about making two meaningful connections. And actually, after I make those connections, I'm going to be very diligent about how I follow up in the coming days. And you just keep building these little Lego bricks of success that gives you that, as I say, proof of consciousness that you need, that it's safe for you to engage in that way. And in doing so, you flex your own confident muscle. That is coming from an introvert. When you're really intentional about the one or two things you hope to get out of it, you're
Mhm.
good. And it
I
makes it
love
really
that.
palatable and a lot easier to engage in.
I love that so much. And I bet after a speaking engagement, you're in bed for a week afterwards because
Dead,
I'm sure
dead.
it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that it's like people have this grandeur vision of like
Hmm.
what networking is. And you're right. Like they go into this event and they're like, I need to meet everybody in the room.
Yes.
And that is virtually impossible.
Yes.
I don't know what person has been to an event and has met every single person in the room. I've always said, you know what, if I go to an event and make one meaningful connection,
Yes.
like someone who really just fed my soul and
Yes.
shook my core, that works for me.
Yeah.
That's what fills my cup. And it's like baby steps. I love that you use the Lego
Mhm.
analogy because a lot of people go in and wants to build a ship right away, but it's really
Yes.
that baby steps that you have to take to not beat yourself up.
This is one of those uncomfortable realities. From a strategic point of view, does it make sense to get in there and carpet bomb people with your identity? Or is it maybe a different approach to go in and really forge a couple of legit connections that you now have a relationship? And through that relationship, you can actually get your desired outcome, not through going in and power brokering your way through the.
And that's kind of obnoxious. People don't like that.
It
They're like,
is.
oh, get
It's
off
so
my
sleazy.
aura.
Well, and it feels so transactional. You go and you can tell who's like they're assessing you. It's like they're doing the body scan of like, what can you do for
Yes.
me? Oh, move on. I'm like, bye.
Those people are so rude when they
I
come in and
know.
they're just like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you. You don't look important enough. So you go into networking events, you make really intentional
Mhm,
connections. And really, I think that's probably the secret sauce to
mhm,
building your business, right? You
mhm,
create relationships, and that is what is at the forefront of that connection for you. And so, what is your stream of passion? Like, what is it that you really
mhm.
love to do within your business?
Love speaking. Like being in
Yeah.
rooms of powerful people is my happy place, particularly if I'm on the stage. There is just something that is it's so impactful to be up there. I'm a natural teacher. And so being able to teach
Yes.
people about themselves in a way that feels comfortable, accessible, kind of fun, it's an endless passion of mine.
And the thing is, I always find that the best coaches always came from teaching as a
Yeah.
background because it's in your roots. It's like really what you've built as your
Yeah.
core is those building blocks on how to teach people to be X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah.
it's a very introvert thing of you to say, like
I know.
that you love to be on stage. What was the first time you did a public speaking engagement and what was that like as an introvert?
Uh, so I grew up in Stratford, which is like not
Oh,
only the home of
theater
Justin
town.
Bieber, but the theater. For a long time, I wanted to be an actor, and my parents were like,
Mm.
over our dead bodies, will you be an actor? But I would say my first real public speaking opportunity was in grade three when I did a speech about ice cream for the Optimist Club. Proud of that one.
So you just love, like, you knew being on stage and like creating that impact and creating that presence was something that you just enjoyed because a lot of people don't like that.
I'm an anomaly in that I love it. It's because I love storytelling. And so to tell a story, but that conveys a powerful message that it's not about me, it's that somebody else sees themselves in that story and then they go forward. And then you have this ripple effect. Like somebody
Yeah.
takes a little kernel of wisdom, somebody else takes another kernel, and they just expand in their own parenting, their own businesses, their own
Yes.
relationships, their own careers. To me, that's kind of what it's all about, right? It's so satisfying. And I love being in that position. I find it so, so, so fun.
This year you've got some big doozies coming up.
Yeah.
What are you being invited to speak to? You've got some really great ones coming up.
International Women's Day this year is like Shark Week. I have like three back-to-back events and I'm flying out west. So doing a few events for that, some corporate gigs. I've been invited to Alt, which is a huge entrepreneurial conference. I'm a backup speaker. So we're just hoping that not that something goes wrong for somebody, but there is an opportunity in which somebody can't make it and I'll step up and be on that stage. That's a really big one.
That's very exciting. It is one of the big ones. And International Women's Day, it's going to be, that is one of my most favorite weeks within
Big one.
empowerment, leadership, all of that. And you're going to probably sleep for a month after that. That's who you're grinding, which
Yeah.
grinding is different. And I know you'd agree with me on this, just some of the stuff that I read.
hmm
Grinding is different than hustle. I don't love hustle.
Yeah.
Do you like the word hustle? How do you feel about the word hustle?
No, I don't like the celebration of hustle culture. And I think we're out of
Neither.
it now. But do you remember a few years ago when it was like boss babe,
Yes,
everything?
I do love that.
Like rise and grind. I don't have time. Nobody has time for that. It's so
No.
masculine driven. Our nervous systems can't cope. It's not a celebration. So like I'm busy and I'm grinding. I'm just so happy because I'm busy and grinding. I'm grinding because the business requires me to be in that phase right now.
Yes.
And as soon as we can take our foot off the gas pedal a little bit and coast, I will be coasting. But there are these moments and seasons of business cycles where it really does. Corporate gigs take months to close. And so being able to build out that pipeline of going to events and following up and building relationships and then getting a call, and then it's like a 6 month window if you're lucky. And so I'm very hyper aware of that. And it's about planting all the right seeds and doing all of that work so that your seeds can grow into what you want them to become.
Really glad we're out of that phase
Yeah.
of boss babe and I'm just a boss. It's
I
okay.
know,
You
I
don't need to
know.
call me a boss babe. Hustle. It's like that toxic positivity you
Yes.
were talking about before. There's such a connotation of not resting, and that is not
Yes.
okay.
And that, from my own perspective, going into the book, that what's one of the most effective things that really, truly courageous leaders do, they prioritize rest, joy, and fun. If you are not prioritizing, like I get 8 hours of sleep a night, bare minimum. I know you have to be having fun. You have to be taking breaks. You have to have other hobbies. Otherwise, this is going to sound so harsh, but otherwise, you're not truly and fully a whole person. If you're not a whole, fulfilled person, it's unsustainable to keep that momentum going in order to show up as your best self.
And I think is that millennials, Gen Zs, they're at that turning point where they always feel guilty about resting. They got to work 10 hours, I got to work 12 hours. If you don't,
Mhm.
you're going to feel bad. And the new generation is really trying to disrupt that. And a lot of people, and this is what I fight in my industry all the time in
Mhm.
recruitment, is that I think the younger generation is actually just paving the way for us. They're like, I
Mm,
value personal time. I value relationships. I value
mhm.
connection. I don't value work. And the older generation now looking at that new generation, I hear all the time too, which I correct a lot of my clients, is that
Mm,
they're like, oh, the younger generation doesn't want to work. Oh, the younger
mhm.
generation doesn't want to do this. Well, that's because they value
Yeah,
personal life and they don't value only work. And we have to be okay with that. And if we're
yeah,
not evolving in that sense, then eventually our generation's going to die off. That's reality. That's
I
kind of
know.
morbid. But then they're going to take over. So it's like, how do
Mhm.
we pivot and how do we meet in the middle?
My husband's Gen X, I'm a millennial, and he has a Gen Z daughter. And then my daughters are all Gen Alpha. So it is a stark
It's a
contrast
lot.
between Gen
Yeah.
X and Gen Z. It's like we're not speaking the same language here. So in the workplace, that also creates tons of conflict. It's like somebody's looking at the sky being like, that is very clearly blue. And somebody's standing beside you being like, it is very clearly green. Like, what are you talking about? It's like we
Yeah.
don't see eye to eye. And so I think
Yes.
that as we move forward, we're going to need to find and strike the right balance because we need the work ethic, but we need the work ethic without the guilt. We need the personal life, but we need the personal life with also some structure and some support.
Yeah.
Neither works on its own. We really need this Venn diagram of where they come together and we can be really focused and present and work in work, and we can be really focused and present in not work as well.
This is the sweet spot, which is such a good analogy on like what's happening in the world now. You know what I
I know.
mean?
Hmm.
I love it. And so, what's next for Leisse Wilcox Consulting? Like, what is your 2 to 5 year vision?
That's a great question. I ultimately want to be moving in the direction of doing much more speaking and hosting a few of my women's leadership collectives. It's like a women's group that I do 3 times a year for 12 weeks at a time. So having just a couple of well-paid speaking gigs that can then ultimately turn into offering that same leadership circle in-house for companies, that feels really good for the next few years as my kids are in high school. And, as we kind of soft launched here today, over time, when the girls have all graduated, one option is to take over as like the leadership and development training facilitator for a company and really build out
Yes.
a very solid framework.
Yes.
Another option is consulting on a more fractional basis and being a member of boards. So I'm not sure which direction it's going to go, but I know for certainly the next 1 to 2 years, I foresee more stages and being, continue to be a sought after thought leader and subject matter expert.
I love that. And you are a thought, like every nugget that you've pulled out today, I'm like, yes, I feel that like so deeply, right?
Thank
So
you.
it's going to be, oh, that's nice. You got
Oh,
a delivery.
coffee delivery. Thank you.
Hi. So nice. Have a good one too. Just kidding. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet. They're not in school today?
No, it's another snow day here.
Where? What? I have like
I
no
know.
snow. It's
We
crazy.
got like 2 feet of snow, and we're having this old school winter. Like we haven't had winter in so long, and we've had I think 6 snow days already this year.
Aren't you in like North York? Where are you again?
Coburg, it's east of Toronto.
Coburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like near like Collingwood, like that area, right?
No, no, we're
Oh,
closer
further.
to Prince Edward County.
Oh, and you got lots of snow there?
Yes. It's
That's
so rare
crazy.
because we live like right beside Lake Ontario, and it's very, very rare that this happens. But
We have like no snow. Today is like like if I look out, it looks like a summer day here in the
that
vineyards, you know?
what? Oh, of course. But
I'm in the
the
pocket where
Vancouver,
I grow
yeah,
wine.
I know the Okanagan Valley of Ontario.
It's true. It's true.
Hmm.
Okay, so I usually like to end up with some rapid fire questions just to kind of get to know our CEO. What's your go to taco flavor?
Go to taco?
Yeah.
Al pastor. Thank you for asking.
Is that chicken?
No, it's pork and pineapple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my questions was, do you believe in pineapple on pizza?
I vehemently believe in pineapple on pizza.
Okay, so
Yes,
you're just
I'm
kind
a
of like a
strong supporter.
pineapple gal. A strong supporter.
Interestingly, I don't like pineapple on its own. Like if somebody's like, I cut up some pineapple for you, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat it.
But in Mexican food and in pizza, you're all about it.
Yes.
What's something surprising about you that people wouldn't expect?
Definitely that I'm more of an introvert.
Hmm.
I love singing. Like singing and
Do
laughing
you?
are my top two hobbies. Yes.
Or my laughing is my hobby.
I am the happiest when I'm like cry
Oh,
laughing. And so that
oh
has to be a
yes.
hobby.
I love it. Just make it into a hobby, right?
Yes.
And what's the first job you've ever had?
Oh my gosh. So I've been working since I was 12 and I had 2 jobs
12.
at the same time.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
illegal, but that's cool. Tell us.
And
Tell the
coping
story.
mechanism to escape a terrible home. But so I had a
Oh,
paper
okay.
route.
Yeah.
I had a paper route and I also cleaned an Airbnb, just a regular bed and breakfast.
Wow. At
Hmm.
12.
At 12.
At
I
12.
know. Like I
What
was in
our
there
12
making
year
all the
olds are not.
beds.
Yeah.
My 12-year-olds are not working at a B and B, and I'm encouraging them to take on their own little side project, but it ain't
But at least
cleaning
they're
at
bringing,
that B&B.
I listen, at least they're bringing you coffee, you know?
I know it's true. It's true.
That's good. That's good. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one to follow up. What's one word your kids would use to describe you? And they're
Hmm.
teenagers, by the way.
Okay. I am gonna say awesome because I
Yes.
regularly have confirmation from them that I am doing a good job. And they will say things like, "We know you're strict, and yes, we hate it, but also we're glad, and you're like an awesome mom."
Okay, I'm going to get tips from you from when my daughter turns teenagehood because I am terrified, right?
Was
Yeah.
terrified of it because people told me since I was pregnant that it was going to be hell.
Yes,
And
especially
there was,
girls, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And there was a certain point where, like, you have to make a decision that you're going to have a great experience in their teens and you are going to be the kind of mom that creates an environment that allows teens to be who they are. And when you can adapt your parenting to that paradigm instead of like it's a lot of grief and loss to be like, but my baby, but your baby is growing up and you run evolve, your kids evolve, and the parenting has to evolve to match them. And then I think it works out.
Please remind me again when
I
Olivia
will.
turns.
Call me in 10 years.
I'll be like, what do I do? I'm crying every night. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I think
I
you'll
love
be
it.
pleasantly surprised. They are like, I love, like, I had so much experience with young children. I was like, what am I going to do after they turn 4? I'm not going to know what to do.
Yeah.
No, they're 12, 12, and 14, and they are amazing. It does honestly keep getting better.
You know what? That's the first time I've heard people describe teenagehood like that. So I will take it. And maybe that's your next book. You know what I'm just saying?
Yeah, I know. I know exactly.
I love it. And so, what is the weirdest thing you do to stay productive?
The weirdest thing I do?
Hmm.
I religiously watch TV at night.
Okay.
And
Just
I'll
to like
tell
turn that
you,
brain off,
it
right?
is to turn it off. I
Yeah.
turn it off. I get full tracksuit. The lights are off, the candles are on, and it's like, don't talk to me. I'm just watching TV now.
Wow. Do you know what they should bring back? Juicy Couture
Yes,
velour tracksuits. Do you remember the velour tracksuit days?
very much. Yes,
I
yes.
I wore mine for a good solid 10 years, you know?
That's so cool. I never had one, and I just looked
What?
longingly at the people who had them.
Oh my gosh, they were the best. It was like velvety and it was delicious. It was amazing, right?
Oh, it's so
And my last question for you is how do you reset after a tough day? Because I'm sure in your
mm,
field you go through lots of those. And so, what's
mhm.
your reset tool?
Crying mostly.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a big crier. I'm really fortunate. I did repartner in the last few years, and I have an unbelievably supportive husband that I can just say like I need this, or I had a terrible day and I've lost all faith and ability in myself, and he is there to like help me process it out loud. And yeah, but we
that's
cry, we process,
priceless.
then we go to sleep and we start again in the morning.
That is so healthy. You know, I think
Thank
that's
you.
so healthy, and that's what people don't do enough. I'm slowly starting to move past the phase of suppressing my feelings the way that
Oh
I
yeah.
was taught growing up is like,
Yes.
oh, cool, you feel sad, let's move on, right? And it's
Yes.
really about
Yes.
taking the time and, really feeling your feelings and I interviewed a woman recently who was just incredible and she said one of her best piece of life advices that
Hmm.
she gives to her daughter and she has three daughters
Hmm.
as well is to pick the right partner, right? It is very
Mm.
important to pick the right partner that you can be yourself with, that can
Hmm.
elevate the better side of you, and to also pick up the
Hmm.
pieces of the sides that, that crumble, and that's okay, right?
I would add to that, as
Yeah,
somebody
tell
who was
me.
single for a long time, it's okay to be comfortable with it. Sometimes you have to be your partner. And
Yes.
there was that season in my life where I all I wanted was to be with somebody. And in hindsight, being able to build the business in the way that I did and get through cancer and parenting, I actually don't think I could have handled a relationship at the same time.
Right.
So having that comfort of like, right now, I'm going to be this person who's supporting myself is something we don't talk about very often, but also can be
That's
incredibly
true.
like effective.
And that's so true because when people get out of relationships, you don't want to just rush into another one.
Yeah.
You have to take those times to rebuild that building block for yourself,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You are just such a pleasure. I feel like I just went through an hour of Harvard Law School here. This was just very, very insightful, and you're
Thank you.
such a pleasure to speak to. You're just so
Likewise.
in tune, and I love that it's very structured, but it's very vulnerable and heart
Mm,
centered at the same time, which is just a testament to who you are.
thank you.
And so you all can find her at leisewilcox.com as well as on IG and LinkedIn, which we will link in the show notes. You can keep finding those smart tips. She's on YouTube as well. And we're going to link a confidence course that she has,
Great.
put in there as well. And, she has a new book coming up in the fall, The Courage Code, you were just telling me. And she has 2 prior books before. You can take a look there. To Call Myself Beloved. I need to get copies of those books. Will you hook me up?
This is a really good one. This is the first one that I wrote. I wrote it during chemo, interestingly. And if you are somebody who is like, I don't know how to feel my feelings, this will walk you through it. This is an excellent book in coming to be self-aware. And my other one, it's up in a different section of my bookshelf, but it's called Alone. And it really is about being comfortable being on your own and being comfortable with who you are and allowing yourself to belong anywhere.
I love all of those topics. I truly do, because
Thank you.
I think it's something that we don't normalize enough. You can also see her, she's a regular contributor on Forbes, and the lots of speaking engagements that are coming up where you'll see her smiling because that's her happy face, happy place.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. You are just such a treat and a pleasure to speak with, and I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so all of that is true about you. You're an absolute delight, and this was just a really wonderful conversation.
I'm so glad you joined us today for the Fearless Entrepreneurs podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or someone who could use a little inspiration. You can always reach me, your host, Cindy Chang, directly on Instagram or Spotify DM. I love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. It truly means the world to me. Until next time, stay fearless.